I've spent the past 5 years being one of the people on the team that are customer facing. And for me, sales, we're a B2B company. This will have no relevance at all if you're B2C, but Canada seems to like B2B. So for me, B2B breaks down into two phases, and we'll talk about them separately. We'll spend most of our time on the first phase, which is 0 to 1, going from zero revenue to the first million, and then everything after that, which is the scale phase. And they're very different. And I find that my background as an engineer, as a pretty shy kid, since 6 years ago, it's been a wild ride since, and I'd love to share with you some of that perspective. So we'll just jump right in. So the first million. There's only one culture policy at MappedIn, and it's this, which is that everything that the manager asks someone to do, they've already done themselves and would do again. I think everyone would nod their head and say, of course, that makes sense. But as an engineer and as someone who, I talk to a lot of other velocity companies and new companies in the area, a lot of people seem to really want to automate as fast as they can the thing that they don't like, the thing that they think they're not good at. That tends to be sales, and they tend to say, well, we're a business now. Let me go hire someone to do this. The problem is, if you've never done it before yourself, how do you know what you're hiring for, right? Because a lot of people have this perception of what sales is. It's the hyper-aggressive, movie stereotype salesperson, the person who's too polished and too perfect to be true. But in reality, my experience is that the only thing that it actually really takes is a good smile, a good handshake, and it's a lot more like, of all the movies, it's probably the most like Will Smith in The Pursuit of Happiness, where you just get punched in the face by reality for 55 minutes, and then you find out that like his whole life, and then you finally get a break. That's actually what sales from 0 to 1 feels like. And so that's actually who you're trying to hire for. Is not someone who feels like Harvey Specter, but someone who shows up and you're not sure if he has a house at the end of the day. And so the first point of advice, I guess, and hopefully it's counterintuitive to some people, is especially in sales, especially as a founder, you have to lead from the front. And how can you hire for this role if you've never done it before? So that's the first reason why you should do it. And clearly my message is that you as the founder should sell. And the other one, this is the most important one, is because I got this from the VP of Sales at Lyft. And he said, founders have superpowers. As a founder, you show up and you're automatically credible. The customer thinks you know everything about the product, and you do. You're the most interesting person in the whole company to talk to because you've got a real story. You're authentic. And they know that whatever you agree to is the final thing that has to be negotiated. There is no next meeting. And so that you could be the most awkward, not confident, unpolished salesperson, but just be the founder. You can just walk in and say, which is what we said. When we started the company, we walked up to the local mall, Conestoga Mall, and we said, hello Sandra. I was just emailing her yesterday. It's been 5 years. Hello Sandra, we're students at the University of Waterloo. We have this great idea. We'd love to show it to you. I think it would make your experience better for your shoppers. And that's all. We showed up and gave her a demo, and then she asked how much, right? And it's because we were founders. It's not because we applied, selling pressure or all the stuff you're supposed to do. So remember this. This is what makes you really good, and this is why you should also do it. And the third one is that I love this quote because if you're trying to start a company, you should read everything Paul Graham writes. And one of the things that he wrote about is that it is on doing what you love, and it's that if you're not doing what you love, you have to get paid a lot of money, because people who do what they love, the artists, the creators, they do it just for the enjoyment of what they get out of it. And so most of what sales involves actually isn't that fun. What's really fun is when you get paid. And so this is something that most CEOs of scaling companies know, is that salespeople just want to make money. The best salespeople really want to make money. And they want to make money today. And so they'll go wherever they can to earn the biggest paycheck. And you actually want that because you're so aligned with them in that case. You want people who want to make $100K a year in commissions on their first year, because that means you've made $1 million in revenue out of this person if you're paying them 10%. But the inverse of that means that in your first year, if you don't foresee this salesperson or your entire company generating $1 million in invoiced revenue, there is technically no salesperson on earth, unless you can trick them into thinking that would actually want to work for you if they're any good. Because you can't pay them enough. If you're only going to do $100,000 in sales, unless you paid more than 100% commission, you can't possibly get someone good to work for you. And that's something that also was very unintuitive to me. So the first salesperson we hired, and of course as soon as possible, so I made all these mistakes. The first salesperson we hired was really early, it was one of our first employees, and I was thinking like, there's no way I could do this. You know, this is real estate, these are the oldest people on earth, and I'm this young Asian kid, and I'm trying to get them to buy our stuff. There's, you know, I got lucky twice, but we got to get someone real. And we found someone who I still think is a fantastic guy. Had a pretty good career as an early stage salesperson at other companies, and said, look, I've been passed over for promotion this many times. I think I'm ready for the next step. So I want to join at the ground floor. I'm willing to do everything. So like all the right things that got me really excited to be like, yeah, that's great. And what I didn't realize was that there's no way that someone joining at this phase as a salesperson would possibly be good enough to scale a sales organization. Otherwise, they'd be doing it. If they were good enough, they'd be at a big company like Salesforce scaling it. And so the last reason the founder should sell is because no one else will. Because realistically, you may as well just do it yourself. So I know there'll be questions after this, and this is obviously not what I honestly spend most of my time thinking about, but it's something that I think I wish I spent more time early on. The second phase is much harder. It's 99 times harder, but it's actually a lot more talked about. Because if you read any blog about how to build sales in a startup, this is actually what they're talking about. Every single article you've read about how to hire SDR, sales development reps, how to build your funnel, which tools to use, Salesforce versus this versus that, how you hand off from marketing to sales to customer success to account management to growth, it's all talking about this phase. So I actually won't. I'll just say you should go read that. And but the analogy or the parallel to engineering, if you're used to that world, is there's an expression in engineering called premature scaling. And everyone knows in engineering that that's a bad thing, right? If you're trying to build an app and you want to build the MVP of the app, and it needs to work for the first 10 users in the world, and you go and build like the most amazing back end on Amazon that can scale up to 10 million people, 10 million users for that first day, you're wasting your time, right? You're doing the wrong thing. You're completely prematurely investing those resources. So that's what I find a lot of people like me, and certainly you guys are not all going to make the mistakes I made, but this is what a lot of people tend to do. So I thought I'd just leave it with that, leave this up, and see if anyone had any questions, and very happy to answer them. Thanks.
So thank you, Hongwei, very much. That was very, very insightful and very articulate. So Azur's going to do a mic run. So if anyone has any questions, just put your hand up and he'll run to you for them, okay? So does anyone have any questions? There we go.
Can you please repeat your name?
Yeah, it's Hongwei Liu.
Oh, very nice to meet you. What does basically your business do? I know that you're not supposed to pitch your business.
Sure. Well, thanks for asking, so I can pitch you my business. So MappedIn, it's navigating the indoors, so helping you find stores at the mall, products in the store. We power the data set for 90% of the A malls in Canada, so Conestoga Mall, Fairview, Sherway, Oxford, everybody. This past year, we've gotten 15% of the market in the US of A malls. We're always white label, but if you're familiar with GIS, we're essentially building GIS for the indoors.
I was wondering if you could, how do I want to phrase this? I'm imagining there's probably more to an ideal first few customers and just how much they can pay. So for the first million in sales, what's the most attractive traits you look for in a first customer?
It's a good question. Well, yeah, so that's a good one. I mean, ideally you want a customer that gets where you're going, right? So our first customer, Conestoga Mall, saw a video because the demo wasn't good enough, it actually wasn't going to work, so we took a video of the only case of the demo that actually worked and showed it to them. But she understood from the video what we were kind of talking about. Like, she didn't certainly foresee the vision that we have today for what we want to do, but she saw far enough out, Sandra Stone, the GM there, to really invest in MappedIn. And then she became a great sponsor. Then she, after we actually did the install, she referred us to her peers at Mapleview, I think, which is in Burlington. Like, you want someone like that. But chances are, I think, the people who will do that are the only people who will buy your products as an early adopter, right? Like, that is the definition of an early adopter, is they want to be first, they want to be the ones to try something new and brag to their friends about the new thing they tried. And so it's the same cohort, and so you may as well actually just filter for who will pay you money. Chances are they're the right people anyways. It's hard enough to do that, so just solve that and you're good. Anyone else? I'm really happy to answer any general.
In your sales team?
Now we're doing all the things that the blogs write about, I guess. Most important thing to me right now, which doesn't apply in general, is like something crazy happened 4 weeks ago. We've had so many leads come in the past 4 weeks. My rule is still that I'm the first 2 meetings and last 2 meetings of every deal. We have over 400 malls online. I was involved in every single one. But it's because we work with the headquarters, so it's like one deal gets you 100 or something like that, right? So most important thing to me right now is that we don't miss anything. It's kind of like hanging on. How am I going to let go? That's an interesting one. So this gets into phase 2, right? So it's like I've been asking people for advice, and my mentors are the ones who are a year ahead of me, and half of them are saying, "Oh, Hongwei, this is terrible. Like you're never going to scale. Like this is not good. You need to be able to completely pass this on." Like we have a VP of sales. He's got 15 years experience. He launched the Xbox in Canada. He's way better than I am ever at being that VP of sales, and he still wants me in the meeting. And it's because the way our industry works, like 40 deals gets us a lot of the market. And because of founder superpowers, I'm not better than our VP of sales at being a salesperson. I'm better at using my founder superpowers, right? So that's why I think it's rational for me to stay involved. So the other half of my investors are like, forget the first half, do this, totally cool, be efficient. And I guess what's most important to me right now is that the sales will realize that their success is dependent on everyone else in the company executing as well. We're about to have a pretty good year. Don't forget where this came from.
We'll do time for one more.
Hi, so you mentioned that you were saying 6 years ago you were fairly shy. So I was wondering if you could tell us a little more about your personal journey in overcoming that.
Okay. Well, nothing like doing it, I guess. They say necessity is I actually don't know the quote, but like basically necessity breeds innovation or something like that. Like you kind of just have to do it. And for me, I still do this sometimes where if I go into like a long day of conversations, hopefully I seem pretty natural during, but I'll actually need an hour at the end of the day to really digest all those conversations, really break them down. Did I miss anything? Should I have said something better? Should I have followed up on that? Like you kind of apply what you already have built in the past to what you're currently doing to make yourself better. It's a skill like any other. And a lot of people who started out where I am may feel like, that's just not me. That's not who I'm going to be. But I think it's like painting, or it's like writing, or it's like anything else that you want to get good at. And hopefully, someone on the founding team wants to get good at it.
Thank you.
Cool, thanks. Thanks a lot. Thanks, everyone.